Long before search engines and smartphones, tribes around the world had their own version of Google. It wasn't a glowing screen, but a living, breathing network of elders, storytellers, scouts, and sacred traditions. If you wanted answers about survival, weather, healing, or even history, you didn't type your query, you listened, you asked, you observed. Picture a world where knowledge wasn't stored in cloud servers, but in living memory, passed down through firelit stories, carved symbols, songs, and rituals. One mistake in remembering could mean the difference between life and death, whether you were hunting, navigating dangerous terrain, or curing disease. We'll journey back to a time when knowledge flowed through people instead of machines, a time when finding answers was a community effort, and wisdom itself was survival. This was the tribal version of Google, and just before we dive deep into this story of human ingenuity, remember to like this video, leave a comment about the most surprising fact you learn, and subscribe to the channel for more eye-opening journeys into tribal wisdom. Now let's step into the first chapter of this forgotten internet of the ancients. If Google today is an endless library of answers, then in tribal societies the search engine was the knowledge keepers, the elders, shamans, and storytellers. They weren't just respected figures, they were the living hard drives of the community. An elder might carry generations of wisdom, how to find water in a drought, which plants cured fevers, where the stars pointed during migration. These people were trusted because their knowledge had been tested again and again by survival itself. Shamans, on the other hand, acted as spiritual and medicinal specialists. In many tribes, if you were sick, you didn't search for remedies online. You went to the healer who knew which bark soothed pain or which ritual could calm the spirit. Storytellers also played their part, encoding history and lessons into songs and myths. Every tale was like an encrypted file, entertaining on the surface but carrying deep truths about survival, morality, and the laws of nature. But unlike Google, this knowledge wasn't free for all. Access depended on trust, respect, and community standing. A young warrior might not be told sacred hunting secrets until he proved his worth. A child might only hear half of a myth until they were ready for the deeper meaning. In this way, knowledge was filtered, not by algorithms, but by wisdom and responsibility. When we think about it, these keepers were the original librarians, coders, and moderators. Without them, tribal societies would have collapsed. And remember, bro, if you're finding this story fascinating, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the hidden wisdom of humanity's past. Today, when we type a question into Google, billions of pages are scanned in seconds to bring us an answer. But in the tribal world, the search algorithm worked very differently. It was human, communal, and deeply tied to the rhythms of nature. When a tribal member needed knowledge, they didn't just ask one person, they followed a chain. First, they might ask their family or clan. If no answer came, they turned to the elder. If the question was more spiritual, they visited the shaman. If it was about hunting or survival, they sought the wisdom of skilled trackers and warriors. Each step filtered the question through the right database of experience. Nature itself was also part of the algorithm. People searched by observing the sky, the migration of animals, the growth of plants, or the smell of rain in the wind. Each sign pointed to an answer if you knew how to read it. And just like modern Google ranks results, tribal knowledge had its own ranking system. The elder who had survived the most winters was trusted more than the young warrior. The healer who had cured many was believed over someone with less experience. Reputation, survival, and proof of knowledge became the deciding factors. In this way, the tribal algorithm was slow but precise, filtering wisdom through lived experience and natural observation. Answers weren't instant, but they carried the weight of generations. And bro, if you're enjoying how human history mirrors our modern tech, remember to like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe for more incredible journeys into ancient wisdom. While elders, shamans, and storytellers were the main keepers of wisdom, tribes had many other databases for survival. Knowledge wasn't only stored in people, it was woven into objects, rituals, and traditions. Cave paintings, for example, were more than art. They were visual records of hunts, maps of migration paths, and even coded warnings about dangers. A painted spear striking a bison might remind future hunters where the herds once roamed. Ritual dances were another form of tribal memory. The steps, songs, and rhythms passed from generation to generation carried messages about seasons, battles, and the spirit world. These were moving archives, history in motion. Symbols carved into wood, bone, or stone acted as bookmarks. A pattern on a drum might tell you when to plant, while designs on a shield could reveal family ancestry. Even jewelry or tattoos were often coded with information about rank, achievements, or spiritual protection. And let's not forget oral riddles and proverbs. These short, sharp pieces of wisdom worked like search shortcuts, quick access to truths that had already been tested. In this way, tribal societies built a whole system of offline storage. Their knowledge wasn't written in books or uploaded to a server, but it was everywhere. Painted, carved, sung, danced, and remembered. It reminds us that before Google indexed the internet, tribes had already indexed their world through creativity, culture, and ritual. And bro, if this ancient wisdom is blowing your mind, don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss another journey into forgotten knowledge. Knowledge is power, but in tribal societies, it could also be dangerous. When wisdom was stored in memory, dances, or carvings, even the smallest mistake could lead to disaster. If a hunter misremembered the migration route of animals, the whole clan could starve. If a healer passed down the wrong herb, a cure could become poison. In oral traditions, one forgotten line of a story could erase centuries of tested survival knowledge. Another danger came from secrecy. Some knowledge was considered sacred and restricted. A warrior might not be told the full truth until he proved himself. But if a crisis struck before he learned it, lives could be lost. Access to wisdom wasn't always equal, and that imbalance sometimes made tribes vulnerable. Then there were rival tribes. Knowledge was power in warfare too. If one tribe lost its search keepers in battle, their strategies, histories, and rituals might vanish overnight. In some cases, raiding tribes even stole knowledge, taking shamans or storytellers captive to use their wisdom. And perhaps the greatest danger of all was over-reliance. When a society depended so heavily on oral transmission, a single disaster, like plague, war, or famine, could wipe out its collective memory. Unlike the internet, there were no backups. Tribal knowledge was powerful, but fragile. It kept people alive for millennia, yet it always walked the edge of being lost forever. And bro, if this part really makes you realize how fragile wisdom can be, then like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe so we can keep preserving stories together. Even though many tribal societies never had writing, their wisdom left a legacy that still shapes the world today. What they preserved through memory, ritual, and tradition became the foundation for later civilizations. For example, ancient navigation techniques from island tribes influenced seafaring across oceans. Farmers in early tribal communities developed planting cycles that are still recognized in modern agriculture. Tribal healers, through trial and error, identified herbs that modern medicine continues to use. But perhaps their greatest legacy was the value of community knowledge. Unlike today's individualistic search engines, tribal wisdom was collective. Survival depended on sharing answers. A tribe thrived only when elders, hunters, healers, and storytellers all contributed their data to the group. We also see their impact in proverbs and oral traditions that have survived centuries. Many sayings about patience, respect for nature, and harmony with others can be traced back to tribal teachings. These lessons weren't stored in digital files, but in human hearts, and that made them timeless. In some ways, the internet itself mirrors tribal wisdom. We create collective knowledge by sharing, updating, and passing information along, just as tribes once did around the fire. The tools have changed, but the idea remains the same. Humanity survives by storing and transmitting knowledge together. So when we ask what the tribal Google was, the answer is simple. It was the people, the community, and the culture. And their legacy still lives in us today. And bro, if this legacy inspires you, don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so more people can rediscover this forgotten wisdom. So what was the tribal version of Google? It wasn't a machine, an algorithm, or a server. It was people. Elders who remembered, shamans who healed, storytellers who preserved, hunters who observed, and communities who shared. Knowledge was alive. It was carried in the breath of a story, the rhythm of a drum, the carvings on stone, and the memory of those who survived the hardest seasons. Unlike our modern internet, it wasn't instant and it wasn't endless, but it was deeply human. And while we live in an age where answers come in milliseconds, we should remember the cost. Information today is fast but often shallow. In tribal societies, knowledge was slower but wiser, tested, filtered, and tied to survival itself. The lesson? Humanity has always needed ways to gather, store, and share answers. From firesides to fiber optics, from storytellers to search engines, the quest is the same: to find truth, to survive, and to pass it on. The next time you search something online, Imagine the voices of those who once searched the stars, the land, and the spirits for guidance. Their wisdom is still with us, hidden in traditions, in nature, and in the way we continue to share. And bro, thank you for staying with this journey. If you felt inspired by the tribal version of Google, then please like this video, comment your favorite part, and subscribe. Together, we'll keep uncovering the hidden stories of humanity.